Do you agree that people's social skills have gotten worse after using social media? Please prepare your answer after the beep. Please begin speaking after the beep. Read a passage from a campus newsletter. Listen to a talk between two students.
Did you hear Rachel's proposal about adding shuttle buses from the dorms to campus?
Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea, though I understand why she suggested it.
What do you mean?
Well, she's right that walking in bad weather can be really uncomfortable. I've been caught in heavy rain myself, and it was miserable. But instead of spending money on buses, the university could provide small rain shelters along the main walkways. That would make the trip easier without the high cost of hiring drivers and running vehicles every day.
I see.
As for her safety point, I don't really agree. There just aren't many cars on campus, and bicycles don't pose much of a threat either. When I walk to class, the main problem isn't cars. It's that the sidewalks are crowded. People bump into each other or step onto the grass to get by. Adding buses wouldn't fix that at all. In fact, it might make traffic worse by putting more vehicles on the road.
The woman expresses her opinion about the proposal. Briefly summarize the proposal, then state her opinion and explain the reasons she gives for holding that opinion. Please prepare your answer after the beep. Please begin speaking after the beep. Read a passage from a biology textbook. Listen to a lecture on this topic in a biology class. When I was younger, I used to help my grandfather in his small garden each summer. He loved growing vegetables, but he often complained about one plant that caused him trouble. That plant was black walnut, a tall tree with wide branches that looked harmless to me at the time. However, it made his gardening much more difficult than I first understood. At first, he noticed that tomatoes planted near the walnut tree would never grow properly. They sprouted quickly, but their leaves soon wilted and turned yellow, even though they had enough water and sunlight. Other plants like beans and peppers also showed strange stunted growth when placed in that part of the garden. This problem confused him because he carefully fertilized and cared for all his plants equally. The trigger for understanding came when he read an article in a local farming magazine. It explained that black walnut trees release a chemical from their roots called juglone, which interferes with the development of many garden plants. That discovery made sense of the pattern he had been observing for years. The problem was not poor soil or careless watering, it was the walnut tree itself. This process clearly demonstrated the ecological concept of allelopathy. The walnut tree produced a substance that entered the soil, limiting the growth of other species. Instead of competing directly for sunlight or water, the tree reduced its competition chemically. This allowed it to maintain a wide area of influence where only certain tolerant plants could thrive successfully. Eventually, my grandfather learned to adapt his gardening strategies. He avoided planting sensitive vegetables near the walnut tree and instead grew crops farther away. By recognizing how allelopathy worked, he adjusted his planting choices and achieved a healthier, more balanced garden overall. Using the example from the lecture, explain how allelopathy is illustrated through the black walnut tree's interaction with other plants. Please prepare your answer after the beep. Please begin speaking after the beep. Listen to a lecture on this topic in a biology class.
Industrialization did not happen all at once.
Instead, it unfolded through waves of innovation that changed specific sectors of society. First came transformations in textiles, then later in transportation and manufacturing. Each new invention not only boosted output, but also reshaped labor and social organization. To understand this process, let's look at two examples that reveal different sides of industrial change. The spinning jenny, invented by James Hargreaves in 1764, revolutionized textile production. It allowed one worker to spin multiple threads at the same time, replacing older wheels that handled only one. As a result, cloth could be produced faster and at lower cost. Families who once worked at home saw their tasks move into factories, where machines required large spaces and supervision. This shift meant greater efficiency, but also reduced independence for many rural households. In fact, critics argued that machines devalued traditional skills, even as they created cheaper goods for wider markets. Several decades later, the assembly line, most famously used by Henry Ford in the early 1900s, transformed automobile production. Instead of workers building an entire car individually, tasks were broken into small, repeated steps. Each worker added one component as the car moved along a conveyor. This method drastically cut production time and reduced prices, making cars affordable for ordinary families. However, the work became monotonous, since employees repeated the same motion all day. While efficiency rose, many workers complained about fatigue and lack of creativity. Together, these two examples show that industrial change often produced trade-offs: greater speed and lower cost on one side, but also new social challenges on the other.
Using points and examples from the lecture, explain two technological changes in industrial history. Please prepare your answer after the beep. Please begin speaking after the beep.